Today, I'm going to give you 10 tips, count them 10 tips to overcome anxiety and nervousness, particularly before you're going to speak, whether it's in a meeting or whether it is a formal presentation or on a stage. First of all, we have to remember something. Number one, there is no substitute for knowing your content. The more you prep, the less nervous you'll be. And the beautiful thing is, when you prep and you know your content so well, you won't be fixated on all the things that you may or may not be forgetting, remembering, that kind of thing. You will be fixated on the other things that we want to focus on, which is not necessarily part of today's episode, but the things like commanding the room behaviorally, how your voice sounds, how your posture is and your hand gestures, and all the other things that are really important because delivery matters. So, making sure that you know that content. And related to prep, I want to give you a couple of sub tips around this related to how to put your message together. I highly recommend that you use notes, but use notes wisely. Use bullet points or visuals. So, for example, I highly recommend you use those little post-it notes and you can write a stick figure on there. Let's say you're going to tell a story about an apple. You maybe would draw an apple on there or some other visual cue that reminds you of what that thing is. And then when you have a number of post-its just across the page and you've got a number of them there and you've practiced a lot, then you will start having those visual cues in your memory. So I would recommend that you take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and put those little sticky notes on it, and you can fit four in a row across. So you can have four in a row and then just read it like a book when you're prepping, so that then when it comes time, you'll be able to even visualize where that thing is in your head. You'll visualize where it is on the paper. So that can be really helpful. Now, in addition to that, I would recommend that you have those post-it notes in front of you. It can be whether it's a virtual call or any type of presentation, frankly, or a meeting. Having it on post-its with bullet points or visuals will be an incredible, incredible tool to help you to overcome those nerves. Number two is to recognize that there is actually no difference physiologically between nervousness and your nerves and excitement. So your brain doesn't know the difference, basically. So you have to trick your brain by saying, I'm so excited to give this talk, or I'm so excited to walk into this interview, or I'm so excited to walk into this negotiation with my boss to ask for a promotion. When we say I'm so excited, instead of, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I'm freaking out. It will trick your brain and channel those nerves appropriately. The other cool thing, you may have heard this before, but I love this phrase that the nerves are like butterflies in your stomach. All we need to do is get them to fly in formation. And we do that by channeling our brain with saying, and it's even better to say it out loud, I'm so excited. The third one is going to sound really basic, and I'm going to give you an exercise around this, which is simply to breathe. Remembering to breathe. It's really powerful, especially in advance of your talk, to spend some time doing some deep breathing exercises. And one from the Navy SEALs is called box breathing, where you count into four, hold it for four, and then out for four. So again, it would be like this. It would be, okay, so I'll just count to three. So 1, 2, 3, and then go ahead and breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so on. Even if you do 3 rounds of that, it will calm you down. It's amazing. It will help you to regulate your nervous system. And even if you don't do the box breathing, frankly, just simply that deep breathing, breathing from your stomach, though. You want to breathe from what's called the diaphragm. And many of you know what that is, especially those of you singers and have grown up playing a musical instrument, you're breathing from the diaphragm, which allows you to project even better as well. Project and projection and clarity through your breath when it comes from that diaphragm. But the more we can warm that up, the better we're going to feel because we'll be calmer, and it will also help us to push out that voice with great projection. The third one is to sing. A lot of us might think, oh, I don't want to sing. I don't want to do this. I'm not a good singer. It really doesn't matter if you're a good singer or not. But singing actually helps to regulate the nervous system. So if you can put on your favorite song and sing it out loud, that is going to help you with these nerves. Number 4 is, oh, excuse me, number 5. Number 5 is to actually rock back and forth. It might sound strange, but you could stand and rock side to side, or you could sit in a chair and rock back and forth. But the evidence shows all of these things that I'm going to tell you are really good for regulating that nervous system. So you've got to pick what works for you. But this is why a lot of times, if you notice yourself, even unconsciously, sometimes you might just start rocking at certain times. And that's also why, especially during a presentation where you're standing, people tend to rock back and forth. Well, that's a self-soothing technique. So you want to do that though in advance or privately, I would recommend, because when you do that and people see it, it looks a little distracting. When you are actually presenting and you are standing and speaking, you want to, whether again it's a conference room or whether it is on a stage, you want to move with purpose. Take a few steps and stop and plant for a few steps, or excuse me, plant for a few seconds. Talk to your audience and then move again. You don't want to be constantly moving around, or you're going to look like a caged animal, or you're just going to look like you don't know what you're doing, and that nervousness will project itself onto the audience. So remember to do the rocking back and forth or side to side privately. I always recommend you go right before you're going to talk, go into the bathroom, do some of these deep breathing techniques or the rocking back and forth, whatever it might take. It could be the talking to yourself in the mirror where you're saying, I'm so excited to give this talk, or I'm so excited, whatever it might be. That will definitely help you. The next one is this is very much related to self-regulation, and it's to actually lightly tap yourself. So just tapping yourself on your arms, tapping yourself on your shoulders, tapping yourself on your stomach and your legs, that can activate the nerves in a good way. Like it helps you to be present. It helps your body to go, okay, I'm awake, I'm here. And that can be such a simple thing. All of these things, I hope you'll see when you practice them. They are so simple and they can be very helpful. And the next one is to stretch, physically stretch. I go to yoga pretty regularly. In fact, I just came back from it. Stretching your body, whether it is above your head or you get on the floor and you stretch really big in side to side, whatever it is, the more you can do that, it helps to calm you. So give that a try. The next one is something that comes from positive intelligence. It's a book. Of course, I'm forgetting the last name of the author now, but I believe his first name is Saeed, and it is so good. And I'm going to give you a couple of things from his book that he calls PQ reps. Just like EQ, there's PQ. And what this means is it can be anywhere from 10 seconds up to several minutes, but I would say start with 30 seconds and see what it's like. Turn your timer on for 30 seconds and then start rubbing your fingertips, your thumb and your forefinger together enough that you can feel the ridges in your fingers. And you just rub and focus on the rubbing for that 30 seconds. It helps your brain to focus. And when you do this over time, it will change up the neural pathways in your brain. So it's really cool. The other thing you can do, all of this is related to the senses that he talks about, related to these PQ reps. You can focus, so that's obviously the sense of touch. You can also focus on sound. Just, and by the way, it goes probably without saying, but make sure that you are seated comfortably, ideally when you're doing these. But the sound one I really like because I just find it really soothing. So just thinking, noticing a sound that when you really get quiet, start noticing that sound and focus on that for 30 seconds. And that is another one. In addition to that, you can actually use your eyes to focus on objects that you're seeing in front of you and naming them. So that's another thing you could try for those 30 seconds. And then see how it goes. Even 10 seconds would work, but try different time frames and see which most works for you, which resonates, and which you really like. The next one is to have your pump up song going. Now, I know we already talked about a song that was more focused on singing to regulate yourself, but this is about having that jam song that you absolutely love that you put on and you dance around the house or you dance wherever you happen to be, wherever you're comfortable, and it really pumps you up. My favorite is Demi Lovato's Confident. And that one gets me pumped up. So pick the song that works for you. And that also, when you dance, that's another way to calm your nervous system and self-regulate. The last one is one that we don't often think about too much because when we're presenting or we're in a meeting, we tend to focus on ourselves. We've got to be focused on our audience. What does our audience need? And really focusing on, okay, where are they at right now? Well, I'm even coming up with a few adjectives that would describe them: distracted, busy, sophisticated, tech focused, risk averse, risk taking. There could be a variety of different adjectives to help you and think about where they are right now. Like, is the company in a situation where maybe they've had a number of layoffs, sadly, and that's affecting their morale? Maybe they had a big win recently, so they're doing great. Maybe they've got a massive deadline coming up, so they're not really focused. And then we've got to do everything that we can to help ourselves stand out. But by focusing on the audience instead of ourselves, it can help us to calm down and relax. And then when we're relaxed, we're able to focus on all the other wonderful things like how can I serve the people in the room right now? I'm thinking back to when I was in high school, one of my very first speeches of all time. I was pretty nervous, but felt good about the content. And after I finished, my teacher came up to me and she said, "Well, you did really well with your content, but Karen, you looked up at the ceiling the whole time." And I thought, what? I had no idea. I really wished at the time that she had been able to record that so I could have seen it. But that's one of those examples of a nervous tick that I didn't even know was there. Maybe you have a lot of ums and ahs when you get nervous, or you say you know a lot, or like whatever word or non-word that you might be saying, that can distract from your message. But we do those things oftentimes when we're nervous, or we do a nervous gesture or a nervous tick with our tongue or something. There are just so many bizarre and different things that we do. I remember one person once saying to me, who had listened to me present in a corporate training scenario this was probably 15 years ago now. And he said, at the end of the day, he said, "Is there something itching your arm?" And he said that I was slightly scratching my arm all afternoon, and I had no idea. Well, I came to be mindful of that and realized that is what I do when I'm nervous if somebody asks me something and I'm not sure how to respond. So that was very helpful. So we've all got something, and the key is to figure out what it is and practice these things so that you can avoid those nerves. So I'm going to walk through these 10 again. Number one, prep, know your content. Number two, say I'm so excited rather than I'm so nervous. Number three, breathe. Number four, sing your favorite song. Number five, rock back and forth or side by side, side to side. Number six, tap yourself. And number seven, stretch. Number eight, do those PQ reps, whether it's sound or touch for 30 seconds. Number 9 is to have a pump up song. And number 10 is to focus on the audience. I hope I got all those right. Anyway, I changed my mind a little bit when I was doing this, but nonetheless, here's a couple of tips for you as we close out. Number 1, if you are looking for a guide for what words to say and not to say so that you can sound more credible and hopefully get that promotion that you're going for and essentially be seen as an influential leader, go to my website, KarenLaos.com, and you can grab my 9 words to avoid and what to say instead. There's also a self-assessment that I created called the Confidence Cocktail. I have found that there are 8 ingredients that we need to become a more clear, compelling, and credible communicator. So you can check those out, that online. You can do that as self-assessment, and you can see your results. And then the third thing I wanted to say is related to, for those of you that are in hospitality, I have an executive program called The Powerhouse, and we meet twice a month to focus on our speaking skills, negotiation skills, anything related to communication strategies to advance and elevate. If that sounds of interest to you, I would love to talk with you more. And as always, my book, Trust Your Own Voice, is a guidebook to help women grow their influence through confident communication. So lots of available resources to you. And of course, you are welcome to get my email communication tips every week. I send those out typically every Tuesday, and I'd love to have you on that list so you don't miss anything. And on that note, I'm going to say, do your best to overcome those nerves so that you can feel more confident.